What if I told you that for a huge number of people hitting their 40s and 50s, that feeling of being totally exhausted has almost nothing to do with stress or work or burnout? What if it's actually a physical battle for air that's happening every single night?
Yeah, you heard that right. Up to 40% of people in this age bracket are affected by a condition called obstructive sleep apnea. It is a massive, silent epidemic of exhaustion, hiding in plain sight.
Now, I know you've probably seen all the sleepmaxxing trends online, right? Like mouth taping. But look, if your airway is physically collapsing while you sleep, the science is crystal clear. That tape is doing nothing more than putting a Band-Aid on a much, much deeper problem. Hey everyone, and welcome to Sleepedia, a corner of the internet dedicated to the real science of sleep. Today, we're going to dive deep into why that midlife exhaustion you might be feeling is often a physical, structural problem, and we're going to reveal some cutting-edge solutions that go way beyond the usual advice.
Let's get right into it. The core idea here is that sleep in midlife isn't just about calming your mind anymore. For many of us, it becomes a physical battle against gravity and our own changing anatomy. In your 20s, your airway has the solid structure of a firm, reinforced plastic straw. It's strong. But as we get older, there's a natural decline in muscle tone, and that straw basically turns into a wet paper one. You know what happens then. It gets weak, it gets floppy, and it's super prone to collapsing in on itself.
And that collapse, that is exactly what obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, is. As soon as you fall into a deep sleep, the muscles in your throat relax so much that your tongue and the soft tissue just fall backward. They can literally seal the airway completely shut, causing you to stop breathing sometimes hundreds of times a night.
So this constant choking sends your body into a panic mode called intermittent hypoxia. Your oxygen levels just plummet. Your brain freaks out and hits the emergency button, flooding your whole system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. So instead of recharging, your body is basically in fight or flight mode all night long. No wonder you wake up tired.
What does this actually look like in real life? Well, the causes and the symptoms are often completely misunderstood, and they're probably not what you'd expect.
Let's be real. We all have this classic picture in our heads of a sleep apnea patient, right? But that stereotype is often just wrong. While having a high BMI is definitely a risk factor, it is far from the only or even the most important cause. In fact, recent research has pointed to a much more specific culprit: tongue fat. You heard me. Even in people who are otherwise really fit, fat can start to accumulate deep inside the muscle at the base of the tongue. And this extra volume, well, it acts just like a cork in a bottle, sealing off your airway in the moment you lie down.
And the signs of this can be super subtle. First up, those midnight trips to the bathroom. Turns out, when your chest is struggling for air, it actually tricks your heart into releasing a hormone that tells your kidneys to produce urine, like right now. Second, those dull morning headaches, they're often from a buildup of CO2 in your blood because you were breathing so shallowly all night. And third, for women going through perimenopause, a drop in the hormone progesterone actually reduces airway muscle tone, causing this profound exhaustion that gets blamed on hormones when it's really a breathing problem.
And this is so important, because it's about so much more than just feeling tired. Every single one of those adrenaline jolts causes system-wide inflammation, it spikes your blood pressure while you sleep, and it throws your metabolism into total chaos. It often creates this false hunger for sugar and carbs because your body is just desperate for any kind of quick energy.
But okay, after all that doom and gloom, I promise there is some really good news. We are in a brand new era of sleep medicine with some incredible solutions that go way beyond that traditional CPAP mask.
For decades, the CPAP was pretty much the only game in town. But
Let's be honest, a lot of people just can't stand it. It can feel claustrophobic, it's clunky, it can irritate your skin. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely going to want to hear this.
One of the most exciting new developments is something called hypoglossal nerve stimulation. The easiest way to think of it is like a pacemaker, but for your tongue. It's a tiny little implanted device that makes sure your tongue never falls back to block your airway in the first place. It's a pretty elegant system, really. A sensor detects when you're naturally breathing in, and in that exact instant, it sends a tiny, gentle pulse to the nerve that controls your tongue. This pulse just nudges the tongue forward, keeping the airway wide open. No mask, no hose, no forced air. It's pretty amazing.
Now, for a less invasive approach, we've got something called a custom Mandibular Advancement Device. And I'm not talking about some cheap boil-and-bite mouthguard. This is a high-tech, precision-engineered device made by a specialized sleep dentist. It gently shifts your lower jaw forward by just a few millimeters, just enough to pull the base of your tongue away from the back of your throat.
And what if you could actually train your way to better breathing at night? Well, that's a real thing. It's called Myofunctional Therapy. It's basically like a gym for your airway. Simple exercises, like pushing your tongue flat against the roof of your mouth, can seriously strengthen your throat muscles. In fact, studies show it can reduce how severe your apnea is by up to 50%.
And finally, for all you back sleepers out there whose apnea only really shows up in that position, we have moved way past sewing tennis balls onto the back of pajamas. Now, there are these smart little sensors you can wear that give you a gentle vibration when you roll onto your back, just prompting you to shift positions without actually waking you up.